show me that card. And he, instead of showing me the card, immediately went into this repetition of the rule that said I didn't have a right to ask for the card. And then and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Could you show me this card? And he said the rule again, and I made him repeat the rule for every single point that he made. And then they lost the debate.
Way to think on your feet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I had to. My partner couldn't.
That wasn't Peggy, right?
No.
Okay.
His name was Jason. My debate partner, my senior year of high school, was running down the hallway, batting at the lockers on the locks. Tore his finger off, yeah. Tore his finger off, ruined our chances of a national championship.
Selfish.
I know, right?
Tell us more about how you almost went pro.
Man, it was so close. Carly, are you ready? No. Sorry.
I guess I just wanted to touch on a couple of points in my first rebuttal. One of them was I wanted to bring up the fact that I know you guys said a lot about like development of blood clots and certain issues that like you personally are going through with birth control. And we had talked about how they helped with various menstrual cycle issues, which I'm sure the guys don't really want to hear about. But I did also want to mention that the use of some of these birth controls and the tests that are given at certain institutions like Planned Parenthood also often find and treat, like a lot of these birth control products treat things like cervical cancers and ovarian cancers, which a lot of times won't be found because a lot of lower income women and women in certain situations who wouldn't normally have access to health care, either because they can't pay you for it, what have you, they wouldn't find these cancers otherwise, and they are found and treated, and a lot of women survive because they're able to go to these places and isn't finding a disease that would otherwise kill you, something that elongates your life and therefore is something that should be your right. You should have the right to find something that is invasive and killing you. So that's I think something that's important to point out. Another thing I just kind of wanted to mention, you guys have been talking a lot about, the negative talked a lot about the fundamental laws of self-preservation, like a lot. They mentioned it like every other sentence. Within a lot of this, Ray specifically talked about creating success for oneself and also about like having economic health. He asked you guys, am I unable to be successful, to make my life better, to graduate from school or college or get a job? Would I be unable to do those because of birth control, like because I don't have birth control? And these are all things that he categorized under what he called fundamental laws of self-preservation. But for women, that sometimes the answer is yes, because I don't have birth control, I do have to, like if I get pregnant, if something happens along those lines, if I'm not able to control, whether or not I'm gonna have a child at this point in my life, now suddenly, maybe I can't finish school. Maybe I can't get the job because you have to disclose to employers when you're interviewing whether or not you're pregnant, sometimes even whether or not you're planning to become pregnant, and it does, whether it's not supposed to, it does affect whether or not they hire you. So it is something that is used to discriminate sometimes, whether people will admit it or not. Sometimes you can't stay at a job because they won't provide enough family leave or like maternity leave, anything like that. once you've had a baby, or because they don't have the healthcare that you'll need for yourself and that child. So these issues are actually really huge issues for women. And so I think it's unfair and incorrect to say that birth control has nothing to do with, say, the fundamental laws of self-preservation that you guys kept talking about. Because for women to be able to be successful, to be able to, and we've proven it, you know, the past several decades as women have, you know, gone higher and higher in like social and business circles and the and just like making more money and being able to get better jobs. We've proven that, you know, by being able to dictate whether or not I'm going to be pregnant right now, it's furthering my success, my economic health, and therefore like my self-preservation. So, just something to think about. Thank you.
What?
Is it my turn?
It is, whenever you're ready though, you got time. Yeah.
Since we don't have class Thursday and we're supposed to have those reflection papers in, are you gonna open the Dropbox or do you wanna?
I was gonna talk about it a little bit after the debate, yep. But remind me, don't take off before we talk about those things.
Got a nice weekend?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Alright, I just kinda wanna recap a little bit. Starting with like Carla's first affirmative. She was giving some facts that, you know, like humans have been using birth control for thousands of years, you know, and we're happy about this. You know, we don't have a problem with that. In 2013, you know, emergency contraception was introduced, you know, all that stuff. Fantastic, you know, because it can be difficult, you know, it's a problem, you know, for people, you know, for women especially, you know, and some dudes, because we make it, we gotta deal with it too, you know what I'm saying? And she also said, you know, if men have no restrictions, why do women, you know, like, I believe that she said if men have no restrictions, why do women? And men don't have restrictions because by definition, it's not a human right, you know, because a human right is something that's inherent to all. It's inherent to all, no matter their race, their age, their religious beliefs, all that stuff, you know, like freedom of expression, freedom of speech. So if you're asking this question, it's because it's not a human right, you know, or else we would all have, we would have access to that. She said, you know, like women have problems with blood clots, you know, and they should have the right to talk to a doctor and not be restricted, you know? Why is it that it's restricted, you know? Why is it that they don't let you get what you want when you want it, you know? Because self-preservation is important. I'll give you an example, because sometimes if we're not educated enough, we can make decisions based out of our ignorancy that can lead us into trouble. I believe that when we're born, we don't know anything yet. Can someone tell me that they knew how to tie their shoes when they were 2 years old? I don't know, maybe so. But the thing is, we don't know everything. So for example, if a child, if a baby, you know, let's say 1.5 years old, wants to go and touch an electrical socket, an outlet, you know, because, man, that thing is cool. I think that thing is just, it's got 6 holes, you know, and it's gonna help me if I touch it because, you know, I think I need it, you know, like I think I need this thing. Let's label that, let's say, birth control. Well, the parent or someone who is informed, someone who cares for their self-preservation, is gonna be like, yo, don't do that, you know, because this can harm you. So if you are wanting birth control, you know, and if you're wanting it to be unrestricted, and it should be allowed for everyone, well, then you could be going against your self-preservation. Now, Carly said that I spoke on a lot of fundamental law of self-preservation, you know, and what I said in her just final speech right now, wherever I put that paper, she said that it's important to women, you know, and all this stuff. Well, what I was saying is, if you look back at the tape, I was talking a fundamental human right, not fundamental law of self-preservation. I was talking about fundamental human right, you know? So, where's that thing? I wrote it down.
Check the other sides.
Okay, she said I was talking about fundamental laws of self-preservation. What I said was, it's women can't, I asked you the question, if it's fundamental for me, you know, if I don't have birth control, am I not able to graduate college, or am I not able to keep a job, or all this stuff? And she said, well, for some women, that's true, you know? And it is true for some women, because she said I was talking about that on the basis of fundamental laws of self-preservation. Well, I'm not talking on the fundamental laws of self-preservation, because the debate is on fundamental human rights, you know, and that includes all people, it includes women. So if that includes women, it includes me, you know what I'm saying? If that includes a Muslim, it'll include a Christian, you know what I'm saying? It will include all people. Yes, I understand that women, and even special cases for dudes, that might be the case, but is it fundamental, is it a human right for all people? Does that apply to all people? No, it doesn't. It doesn't apply to all people. That's why human rights do apply to everyone. You can't just label it and single out one person or one group of people because of whatever. If it's a human right, it has to include all people. So by definition, this access to all forms of birth control is not a fundamental human right. And right now, not even restricted access to all forms of birth control is a fundamental human right. And they're trying to say that unrestricted access to all forms of birth control is a fundamental human right. So let me remind you, finalizing here, everything's up, of our decision rule, our D rule, which is, number one, birth control is not fundamental, and birth control is not a human right. So I believe that we have proven that unrestricted access to all forms of birth control maybe should be what we should be striving for, you know? Maybe should be, we should be endorsing more of Planned Parenthood. Maybe we should be helping them accomplish the goals of helping women and men, you know, in their problems. But right now, it's not a fundamental human right. And even less unrestricted to access of birth control, it's not a fundamental human right. So I believe that that's why we've won this debate. You know?
Whenever you're ready.
What?
No, but
Michelle,
sorry.
thank you. Okay, we appreciate the Oh, God. Alright, how much time do I have, Jim?
I think it's 4, might be 5.
Six.
Talk, you're fine. Is it 6?
Yeah.
All right, 6.
Until you're done.
You're done.
So you're done, but no more than 6.
It's 4.
4.
It's
There you go.
4.
That's what I thought.
It's 4,
See,
okay.
I thought it was 4. Thank you, Joe.
Until I'm done with no more.
All right.
Okay.
win this debate, all the affirmative has to do is prove unrestricted access to all forms of birth control is a fundamental human right. And I believe that we've actually done that today. I want to bring it back to the first constructive where we talked about our bodily autonomy and how you have a right to your own body. Right now, women are not getting that option. They do not have any, some of them don't even have access to a restricted form of birth control, let alone an unrestricted form of birth control. And that's one of the things that they don't have that bodily autonomy, they don't have that human right anymore. So that's why it's a fundamental human right that they have an unrestricted access to birth control, because we've already proven that there's been so many bills and laws passed to try to control women's bodies. Not anything toward men. It's not. I'm not trying to make it against males versus females. It's not a thing. It's just reading off the facts that people are controlling the female body, not the male body. And then if they're taking away that control of the female body and taking away their bodily autonomy, that's infringing on a human right. And that's why it's fundamental that we have the unrestricted access. They talk about self-preservation as keeping yourself alive, physically, emotionally, and mentally healthy and happy. And we've talked about how if women are forced to carry a pregnancy that they do not want, that's not emotionally healthy, that's not physically healthy, that is not a happiness, that's not okay. That's most of the time in a domestic abuse situation. And just think about the child that comes out of that pregnancy. Most of them are brought up into homes where they're either unwanted, or if they are wanted, they're surrounded by negativity all the time and they drastic effects. We proved with my information on how expensive it is when these women are forced to carry these unintended pregnancies. So you're talking about economic preservation, that's economic preservation there, to make sure that these women have these forms of birth control that they can control themselves. If your birth control does more than just prevent pregnancy, it helps all these other things such as cervical, all these cancers, and just making sure basic things like your skin is healthy. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to a doctor to get these, because everyone is different, everyone has different estrogen levels, everyone has different things going on in their body. But they should have a right to go talk to that doctor, and they should have a right to get that access to that birth control. We are not giving it to them, we're actually taking it away. So that's why we have won this debate, because we have proven that it is a fundamental human right. It applies to both men and women, because if you have this economic toll, it's going to hurt everybody, not just women. And it's basically, you're part of it's a human society. We need to be focusing on everyone. So that's why we have won this debate today. Thank you.